I got strip searched. I reckon they were giving me extras.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think so.
I got strip searched so many times, and you absolutely hate it. You know, bend over, oh God, lift your penis, separate your penis from your testicles.
Oh
How
my
many times I did that because they hide drugs there. I'm sorry, you probably won't use
You
that.
need a pay rise, Marty.
That's what happens.
Wait, running.
Who are you?
What's it got to do with you?
4 months ago. All right.
Until they clean up
And this
their
time
yard,
there
the
comes-
rats won't go
We
away.
don't know it.
Is this all hocus pocus?
Can you say, abracadabra, here's your pay?
I'm pretty fit, Abdullah. I can keep running.
It's called A Current Affair Australia. Is that what I know?
Have a lovely day.
Hello, I'm Steve Marshall.
And I'm Lizzie Pearl.
And welcome to this episode of That's ACA. Lizzie, what does it mean?
Well, this is the podcast, the vodcast, where we take you guys behind the scenes, peel back the curtain, and show you just that little bit extra of what goes on behind the scenes here at A Current Affair.
Yeah. Hey, Lizzie, do you like people dropping in?
Love it.
Do you?
Love a pop in.
Yeah? What about people who have a mountain of stories to tell
They're my favourite kind of pop in.
from around the globe, having talked to movie stars, interviewed terrorist leaders, the works.
The works.
Right?
Who have we got today?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Marty King.
Marty King. One of
Here's
A Current
Marty.
Affairs' most
G'day,
favourite
guys.
reporters from over the years. Welcome to the That's ACA podcast. We are so excited to talk to you today.
Thank you. I like that favourite reporter. It's a good line.
I say that to everyone.
Hey, Marty,
Oh, do you?
Marty, you've been the backbone of the ACA office in Melbourne for decades. Decades, mate. And I'm sure you won't mind just telling us how far back that goes.
Well, I've been at Channel 9 for so long, I've forgotten how long I've been there for. I've forgotten how many stories I've done, but I think it's 39 and something years, or a touch under or a touch over. It doesn't matter. I'm still here.
Mate, I've got the calendar marked as 1986.
Wow.
Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, that'd be about right. Yep, that rings a bell. When young Martin King had dark hair.
Marty, your CV reads like no other. It's so impressive, mate. So, you know, to find out a point to start to talk to you about your career, I think we should hand it over to you. Where would you like to start, mate?
Okay, so when I started in TV, I think it was in '86, I rocked up on a motorbike, and Peter Meakin was the executive producer of News and Current Affairs, and he said to me, "Mate, I want my reporters to have two legs, not one. I'm going to get you a car." So Channel 9 got me a car. That was my start.
How things have changed.
A company car.
That was the day when Channel 9 had a lot of money, and there were rivers of gold. There was money going everywhere. We used to do all sorts of amazing things. A little bit different these days.
Yeah, the good old days, the good old days. And tell us, you've been at A Current Affair for a really long time, Marty. How has the show evolved and changed over the decades?
It was pretty wild and woolly back in the day, like back when I first started, because I did 2 years at Willisey. Michael Willisey, Transmedia Productions, ran the show, and then obviously on past that to Channel 9. So when I first started, things were amazing. You know, we did things like, we called them walk-ins. These days we call them bouncers, and that's when you just bowl up to someone and start asking them questions, normally a crim or someone who's done something wrong with some form of injustice. But now the show's evolved a lot. In fact, it's evolved about 4 or 5 times since I've been there. And I think the show's fantastic now. I thought it was fantastic back then, but when I first started, I was pretty useless. It took me probably 2 years to really understand what TV was about, because when I started, I was a newspaper reporter and I'd done no television. Most young people look in the newsrooms now and they're 20, 21, 22, 23. I was 35. I was an old man when I first started in TV. We would do the most amazing stories. There was so much money going around. If there's a good yarn overseas, we'd just jump on a bomber and go and do it. Money was no issue.
Now, speaking of overseas, Marty, let's go straight to Texas, Waco. Mate, you found yourself in a very interesting situation, didn't you?
Oh, we did. the story came out about David Koresh, and we wondered how can we get this guy to talk, because he'd never spoken before. And we had a producer in the office, a female producer, and we got her to ring him and schmooze him. And he loved that because he was a ladies' man, and he was a lot of other things as well. So he said, why don't you come over? So we went over to Texas, we met him, and he said, where's the female producer? Because as I said, he was a ladies' man, as we all know. And the female producer wasn't there. He said, well, I'm not going to do the story. And I said, well, come on, mate, we've come all this way. And he said, all right, meet me at the Waco Hilton at 8 o'clock tonight and prove to me that you're worthy to do my story. And that's what we did.
And how did you prove yourself worthy, Marty?
I proved I was worthy to David Koresh by sitting there and listening to his crap for 3 hours. And at the end of that, during which he converted the waiter to his cult, quite seriously, the waiter walked up and said, sir, I've seen the light. Can I come to your compound tomorrow?
Yeah.
But he was a con man and he was a PR man. He had the gift of the gab. He said he was the only person in the world who could interpret the Bible properly, which is rubbish. But that's what he told people. And he had over 100 people in the compound when we went there. I was the first journalist ever to get in the compound and the first journalist ever to interview him.
That's right.
So it was an amazing time, and they were 2 very, very scary days inside that compound.
Death is terrible, believe me. You'll go through it one day. God knows how it should be. Stars and stripes are flying, give us justice and liberty for the children's sake. You know, you might have to bear a gun then.
Yeah, talk us about that, Marty, because, I mean, we've all seen what happened. That would have been frightening for you on the ground and for your crew.
First of all, it was a scoop, and we were excited by that. But before we went into the compound, we went to the police in Waco, and we went to the local editor of the Waco Herald Tribune newspaper, and we said, this is what we're doing. And they said, you guys are crazy, you'll never come out. Don't go in there. And we said, look, we're going in. And they said, look, 5 o'clock at night, ring us. If you haven't, we'll come and get you. And that's exactly what happened. We rang at 5 o'clock at night when we came out. But he had bodyguards following us around the whole time, basically threatening us, just saying, you know you're not going to leave here, don't you? You're not going to leave here alive. And we didn't know whether to believe them or not. And I actually had a quiet word to Koresh, and I said to him, look, what's going to happen here? These guys are pretty scary. And he said to me, well, just behave yourself. And we did for 2 days. But the first thing, when I say he's a PR man and a con man, the first thing he did when we got there was give us each, there were 4 of us, a producer, a cameraman, a soundo and me, gave us a slab of Foster's Lager each. So I thought, this can't be too bad. The guy's giving us at least, how do we get to drink the slab if we can't leave here?
Yeah.
And then we spoke to all of the people. Well, not all of the people, but we spoke to probably 15 or 20 different people about he's the Lamb of God, the Son of God. They love him, they die for him. And the really spooky thing was they all did die for him.
Sadly, yeah.
In the end.
Yeah, sadly. Incredible.
And when that happened, when the fire happened, I've never actually spoken to anyone about this. When that happened, I was dreaming. And I was dreaming of David Koresh, and I was dreaming of his face, and he had a ring of fire. He was burning, and that was my dream. And I could hear bells and ringing, and it was the phone. I got up and I answered the phone, and it was one of the former cult members. And he said to me, have you heard what's happened? And I said, no. He said, they're all dead. Waco's burning.
Wow.
And I was dreaming at the same time of Koresh burning. Very spooky.
Well, maybe you did see the light, Marty, just a different kind of light,
Yeah, I know. That was an incredible time. And of course, from that, I came back to Australia after doing the initial story. And then the siege happened, the 51-day siege. So I went back for a month. And then I took former cult members over as well. And we spent a month there. Then we came back to Australia. We did a documentary. I wrote a book. So it was a huge story.
They come in here with a gun and they start shooting at us. What would you do? Tell me, be realistic. This is America. This is not Australia. This is not Europe. This is not where a country overthrows a bunch of people, takes away their weapons so that the people cannot argue any issues.
Mate, a huge moment in your career. Huge moment. But, you know, that tends to overshadow what else you've done, Marty. I mean, gosh, you've knocked about with the Tamils, haven't you?
That's right. I've done so much I can't remember how much I've done. I looked at my story list the other day and I was staggered by how many stories, there's so many and so varied. Yes, the Tamil story was an incredible story. We wanted to do a story on the war between the Tamil Tigers and the Sri Lankan government, and it was a terrible war and so many people were dying. So we spent a week with the Army and the Air Force. We went up in a helicopter gunship, the producer did. I stayed on the ground. The helicopter gunship, the machine gunner said, "Would you like me to kill some people for you?" And Steve Rice, who was the producer, says, "No, don't. No, we don't want to kill any people. Just like fire into the sea or something. But we just want to get some shots." That helicopter gunship lands, and we spent a week with the Army and the Air Force. Then we had to find the terrorists, the Tamil Tigers, and it took us a week to get there. We were staying at the Colombo Hilton, and every morning I was having curries for breakfast, and it was beautiful. Stay with me with this. So it took 2 or 3 days, and every morning I was fell in love more with the Sri Lankan curries. And the day we finally got up to where the terrorists were, the Army said to us, "There's a no man's land in the middle, and it's 1 kilometre. Everyone is fair game in there. Both sides shoot at you." So we had a van. We had Australian TV and gaffer tape written all over the van, and an Australian flag, which took turns hanging out the window and doing this with the Australian flag so nobody would kill us. We got to this checkpoint, and they said, "Be careful at the checkpoint because the boom gate there's a trigger on it and it can blow up. It's a booby trap, but you don't know if they're going to do it or not. So there's no one in the sentry box." So we sat in the car and we said, "What are we going to do? We can't turn around and go back. We've got to go forwards." You couldn't go around. So we drew straws. Had a box of matches, drew straws. I got the short straw. I had to get out of that car with a wife and 2 children, 4 and 6 years old, at home in Melbourne. Thinking about them, walked up, lifted up this boom gate, and just waiting for it to go off and kill me. It didn't, of course. Lifted it up, went through, got up towards where the rebels were, the terrorists were, and I was getting sicker and sicker and sicker. I had some awful stomach bug from these beautiful Sri Lankan curries. Finally got up to where the terrorists were. You know that feeling when you're in your tummy, like Bali belly or Delhi belly or whatever.
Oh, yes.
Finally got up to where they're all there with their AK-47s. The cameraman puts the camera up to get a shot of them, and a great big lens like this. And we're saying, put it down, because they went like this as well. They thought it was a rocket launcher or something. So he puts the camera down. We get out of the car, walk over, and I said, this is all rolling live. "Where is your commanding officer?" And they said, "Oh, that's him over there, Fred," or whatever his name was. I walked over and said, "My name is Marty King from Channel 9. Excuse me, where's your toilet?" And all I could hear was swearing in the background from the producer saying, "What the are you doing?" Because I was
first question.
So he gave me 2 soldiers with a bucket, took me around the back of the compound, and I sorted myself out and came back in about 10 minutes, and we did it again, and they were perfect.
How good.
When you got to go, you got to go, Marty.
When you've got to go. I was so sick.
எதிரியை நாங்கள் அழிக்காவிட்டால் எதிரி எப்படியும் எங்களது மக்களையும் பின் எங்களையும் அழைத்து விடுவான். கூடுதலாக இறக்குறானோ அவளுக்கு அவ்வளவு நாங்கள் கூடுதலாக சந்தோஷம் அடைவோம்.
And they had young kids there, 13, 14 years old. They were little warriors, and also they had an Australian woman training the Sri Lankan Women's Army. We couldn't find her, but we talked to these kids, and they had cyanide capsules hanging around their necks.
Wow.
And I said, "What are you going to do with that?" He said, one bite dead. And I said, "Why?" He said, "They can't interrogate me."
Some of these young tigers are only kids, about 12 or 13, but they've got the same commitment to kill as any man. They've also got the same commitment to die. Around his neck, he's got a cyanide capsule. 1 bite, 4 seconds later, he's dead. You would do that if the army caught you?
Yeah.
No problem.
Jeez.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Pretty serious stuff, really
Yeah.
serious stuff.
Marty, your
But
experience.
we got the story. We
Yeah.
got the story.
Yeah.
Look, there's a point there I want to pick you up on. Mate, walking up to a boom gate that could be booby trapped, and you've got a wife and 2 kids back home. Did you feel pressure to do it to get the story because Channel 9 was so heavily invested financially in the story?
I did feel that I didn't worry about the finances for the story. That was someone else's department. But yes, I did, and I thought about it a lot afterwards. I even thought about it the other day when I was, told we were doing this vodcast. And it was a really dumb, stupid thing to do and a very selfish thing to do. Because if I died, I would have left my kids fatherless. So it kind of upsets me a little bit now that I did it because it was a stupid thing to do. I tried to get the soundo to do it and he wouldn't do it. Guys said, you don't have kids. And which was a joke. But I thought, look, I'll do it. It had to be done. So there you go. And also what happened after that, we were in a house. A helicopter gunship came over the house and they machine gunned us for 10 or 15 seconds.
What?
And the bullets were coming through the thatched roof and hitting the ground, kicking up all the dirt. And I remember I picked up one of the bullets later. It was about like this, like a banana after it hit the ground. We ran outside under a tree and the bullets were shearing off branches off the tree.
Jeez.
So we all dived under a car, threw the camera on the ground, threw everything on the ground and just got under a car to save ourselves.
And that's another Sri Lankan curry moment.
That's exactly right.
Jesus. Well, I'm glad you're here to tell the tale, Marty, and I'm glad you can have a laugh at it because,
So am I.
yeah, you do. We and you more so do go through some fairly hairy situations. Do they still have an effect on you this many years on, or are you one of those people that can compartmentalise things and move on, and as you do, have a laugh?
Yeah, look, I can compartmentalise it. Most of it doesn't worry me. Interestingly, the Sri Lankan story where I was machine gunned and almost got blown up, it doesn't worry me. But what does worry me sometimes, and where I did have flashbacks and PTSD, was 9/11 when I went to New York. The things we saw there, the things we heard, the things we did were just horrific, and they still stay with me to this moment. And it's probably the only story that I've done in my career where I do have a little bit of PTSD and I have a few flashbacks, and it still affects me. In fact, the other day I was watching up in the sky in Melbourne. I was walking through the city and I saw a plane come past and I went straight back to New York. I always do when I see planes over cities.
Wow.
Tell us how you ended up in New York for covering 9/11.
I had 5 weeks holidays. I was burnt out. I was tired. I really needed a break. And I remember I was sitting outside a restaurant in Carlton with a couple of boys from work having a beer. I had 5 weeks off from the Monday, and the phone rings, and it was the boss in Sydney. You're going to New York. No, I'm not. I've got 5 weeks holidays. No, you're going. So I went. The short story is I went, but you couldn't go to New York because the airspace was closed. So we had to fly. I went from Melbourne to Sydney, flew to London to Gatwick, and then to Stansted Airport, where we had to wait for 8 hours. There was no planes. So all of the news organisations got together and they hired a jumbo jet, which was used by the army. And all it had was canvas seats inside, no proper seats that we would sit in. So we jumped on that, went right across the top to Toronto, got on a minibus, like an 18, 20-seater minibus, all of the media, 60 minutes, current affair news, and drove for, I think, 12, 15 hours down to New York. Hit the streets of New York. Channel 9 gave me $10,000 cash, said, don't worry about receipts. There's the coin. Go to Brooks Brothers, get a couple of suits, shirts, ties and shoes, all that sort of stuff. Hit the ground running. So as soon as I got there, I went to Brooks Brothers, bought all the clothes. They rang and said, we want a yarn up for tonight. So we had to go, we went to the FBI, where we were all were checked out and vetted, got our passes, and they took us to ground zero, which was just still burning and smoking, which it did for months. And we just started work, and I stayed there for a month.
Incredible. And it was fantastic coverage too.
And the work,
By-
the,
yeah.
It was amazing coverage, but the worst thing I found there, being such an empath, were the people walking up to me in the street with these big photographs of their children, their mums, their dads, their brothers and sisters, saying, can you film? I want to find my brother, my sister, my son, my daughter, my mother, my father. And it was just, I dragged all that stuff in because I am an empath, and the emotion really got to me and it upset me. And I said, look, we're from Australia. There's not much we can do, but we don't care. Just anything, any chance at all. It was so sad. And I remember going to, a few days later, went to a cobbler, a shoe repair place. And I said to the guy, Russian owner, I said, how's this affecting you? And he just swept his arm around his shop, all these shoes. He said, I just want them to come back for their shoes.
Oh, gosh.
So that was so sad as well.
Yeah.
And then I walk outside and there's all these people selling 9/11 t-shirts and mugs and cups and hats.
Capitalism at its best.
New York never stops.
Yeah.
No.
So, Marty, then having gone through that experience, I just wondered how you might have felt when Osama bin Laden was taken out in Pakistan and you saw the celebration on the streets of America. Did a piece of you feel that celebration with those people?
Yeah, the celebration of the American people freed from bin Laden. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because when we were in New York, we all thought this was going to continue to happen. This was kind of like the end of the world. I remember my daughter rang me and said, Dad, the world just changed. I said, what do you mean? She said, put the TV on. And I saw the first plane go into the building, and then I saw the second plane go into the building. It was an incredible experience. And I remember I was in the shower before we went out on a shoot, and I could hear gunshots in the hallway of the hotel. And I thought, oh my God. So I flew out of the shower, put a towel around me, and poked my head around the corner. And everyone was so paranoid. There was a guy hanging pictures on the wall with a hammer. Bang, 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 bang. And I thought they were gunshots. That's what it was like.
Yeah.
Then we jumped on a train in the underground, and people were screaming out, anthrax, anthrax, anthrax. Somebody had left a white envelope on a seat and got out of the train. Everyone was so paranoid they thought it was anthrax, so we all jumped off the train and ran along the tracks. It was just like that. It was crazy. Yeah. It was a frightening time.
It was.
Marty, some incredible experiences and hair-raising experiences overseas, but they're not confined to overseas. Lizzie and I were just having a chat about one episode. You're out on the road with our dear colleague Robert Carmody, and you went to do a door knock, did you? It's at a business. Robert
Carmody. There's a character. I should be doing a story on Robert Carmody. We did a story on a plumber. We had a plumber in Melbourne called Phil Bruce, and we called him the plumber from hell. And he was this very, very dishonest character who targeted pensioners, people in their 80s and 90s. They'd ring and say, look, my toilet's not working or my sink is blocked. So Phil Bruce wouldn't go out. His boys would go out. And they'd smash all the pipes in someone's front yard and say, yeah, all your pipes are gone. And they'd, $14,000, $15,000 bill. And I'm talking like in the 80s or 90s. Huge money. So we decided to set Phil up. So we back in the day, I told you, rivers of money, we rented a house. And we rang and said, we've got a problem with the toilet, it's blocked. So these guys came out and they dug this massive hole in the front. And I remember doing a piece to camera saying, look at the hole they've dug. We're halfway to China. And they didn't even need to dig that hole. So what we did beforehand was to get an expert to come out and test all of the pipes so they were perfect, right? There was nothing wrong with them. Phil Bruce's boys came out and they smashed all the pipes and said, there's the bill, right? So we went in front of Phil Bruce. And the first thing Phil Bruce said to us was, get out of my effing joint, get out of my effing joint, get out of my effing joint. He kept yelling this out and scrabbling around and opening up all these drawers, and finally pulls a handgun out from one of the drawers.
Whoa.
I thought, oh my God. Robert Carmody, he's always a fit guy, but have you ever seen a man run like a gazelle? I have. Robert Carmody. So I'm holding the door shut so Phil Bruce can't shoot the crew, and I look around, there's no crew. They're 100 metres away up the road, and then I look around again, and Carmo is like gout. or faster than a speeding bullet, flying up this path towards the main road. So I'm standing there like an idiot, holding the door shut so no one can get shot. I suddenly realised he's going to shoot me through the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I took off as well. Anyway, we rang the police, told the police. The police raided the place and arrested him. And he said, if you don't arrest me and charge me, I'll give you $5,000 cash.
Whoa.
Wow.
The cop said, okay, no worries. So then the police rang us and said, he's just offered us a $5,000 bribe. We're going to set up a sting in the surveillance van. We suggest you do the same. So we got a surveillance van. The police had a surveillance van, and we filmed the transaction. The $5,000 changed hands. And then as soon as the police went to arrest him, he took off in his car, and there was a police chase, which we filmed. And then they dragged him out of his car on an intersection, threw him on the back of the car, handcuffed him, took him to the police station, charged him. And as he left the police station, he saw me. He said, he said, you're an effing phantom. That's what you are. You're a phantom. And Carmo was on the ground laughing. He said, that's what you are. You're a phantom. You used to appear out of nowhere. So ever since then, I've been called the Phantom. That's how the Phantom was born.
There
Wow,
it is.
Marty.
Yeah.
That was our next question.
I mean, that is wild.
But Steve, I don't expect the producers who go with me on shoots to be my bodyguards, and I don't expect them to be my security personnel, but I do expect them to take a bullet for me. and Carmo wouldn't.
What about
It's like a cat on a hot tin roof.
Yeah. Well, he
He's very quick on his feet.
Well,
Calm.
he's also got a background in ballroom
He's very
dancing,
quick.
hasn't he? He's got
Twinkle
a background.
toes.
Yeah, we call him Twinkle Toes. Yeah.
Well, he ballroom danced all the way up that 100-metre driveway.
Looking out for number one.
Yeah.
Wow, Marty, that's extraordinary. Now, your back catalogue is so fascinating. I think we might need 3 episodes for you. But another story I really want to ask you about is John Reed and an amazing story in Manila. Talk us through this one.
Well, John Reed was a real estate agent in Sydney, and he had a brother, and they cooked up a plan. They needed money. They cooked up a plan where John Reed would fake his own death in Manila. And he took out an insurance policy, and I'm pretty sure it was with AMP, and I think it was around $1 million. So John Reed goes to Manila, gets a few contacts with some local rebels and some local crooks, buys a car, gets a doctor to draw blood out of him, squirts the blood all around the car. They take the car to a rebel-held area where the police don't go, where there can't be an investigation, which is smart. Push the car over the edge. Then he went to a morgue where he paid the morgue workers. They put makeup on him, lay him on a slab, took pictures of him, then got a crooked doctor to do a death certificate, all went back to Sydney to AMP, and AMP paid out, and the brothers split the money. Wow. And John Reed had all of this money, so what John Reed did, he loved jazz, so he went to a jazz club in Manila, and he saw a beautiful jazz singer called Leah Aytona, and he fell in love with her, love at first sight. So they started going out. And he told her, I've got all of this money and this is what's happened. It's what you do when you're in love. You tell him everything, don't you? So what he didn't know was that she was part of a gang. And the gang went to his place and stole all of the money. So he took off. And there's a mountain in Manila called Smoky Mountain. It's a huge mountain full of rubbish. And it's on fire all the time. And the poorest people in the world live there, in the Philippines. It's a very sad place. So he was living there. So the police eventually found him, I'm not sure how, the police eventually found him, stuck guns in his face, John Reed, wake up, get up, arrested him, he went to jail. So I had to get him out of jail to reenact the story if I could. So we interviewed the chief of police over there, and his nickname was Dirty Harry. This guy had handguns on his desk and hand grenades as paperweights. What? Seriously. But he was a wild guy, but he's a fantastic bloke. And I did an interview with him about John Reed, and he was fantastic talent. We loved it. It was a great story. And at the end of the interview, he said to me, I've got an idea. And I said, what's that? He said, why don't we arrest him again? And you can film it. And I said, are you serious? He said, yeah, we do that. I said, okay, no worries. So the next day, they took him out of jail, took him back to exactly where they had arrested him, made him lie on the bed, came flying in through the door, we're filming, with handguns, loaded handguns, sticking them in his face, saying, John Reid, wake up, John Reid, wake up. So he gets up, he wasn't very happy about it. So then he goes back to jail, and then I said to the Dirty Harry, do you reckon there's any chance we could actually get him out of jail and reenact the crime? Why not?
Oh, why not?
Oh
Why
my
not? Yeah,
God.
of course you can. I said, are you serious? So every morning, we were in the Manila Hotel. If you know the Manila Hotel, it's a really beautiful, big, sumptuous, luxurious hotel. And they had picnic baskets where they cost an absolute fortune. You can't afford them. But John Reid said to me, I agree to come out for a couple of days and reenact the crime, but I want a Manila Hotel picnic basket and a bottle of Johnny Walker Black Label. And there were 2 prison guards there, and they said, we want the same. So every morning I had to go to the Manila jail with 3 picnic baskets and 3 bottles of Johnny Walker Black Label, and we took him out of jail. They gave us a commando, a security guy, and we reenacted the whole thing. We took him to a morgue. He lay on the slab, put makeup on him and filmed all of that, took him to the rebel-held area, where he said, this is where we pushed the car over and all this sort of stuff. Reenacted the entire thing. And then he went back to jail. We did the story. He went back to jail in Manila and then was extradited back to Australia, and he finished his sentence in Sydney.
That is incredible.
That was an amazing story.
I'm jumping on YouTube to have a look
how
at
do you
that
get a
one
man
again.
out of jail? Just ask. Just ask.
It's extraordinary. When this was all going on, I mean, this is like a movie. Is this what you were thinking? This just can't be real, that this is all happening and we're getting all this access and this guy's agreeing to it? Because this just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it, but the only reason it happened was because of Dirty Harry. And Dirty Harry apparently, he had more notches on his belt than the other Dirty Harry, Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
But it was all in self-defence.
Of course it was.
Of course. But it's a lesson, in journalism. If you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
Exactly right. I couldn't believe my luck.
Wow. And Marty, you don't always want to become the story. Well, we never really want to become the story, ever. But you did actually become the story when you had a heart attack. We're going to do a little pivot.
That's
Tell
right.
us about
Yes, I remember
about
that.
this.
That was, I think, 18 years ago now when I had my heart attack. And I was driving to work at 8:30 in the morning, and the night before, I've never been a good sleeper. I've always been hyperactive and waking up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. The night before my heart attack, I slept for 10 hours. And the most amazing sleep, I got up and I went for a run, and I ran for about an hour. I couldn't stop. I felt absolutely amazing.
Wow.
Half an hour later, I was in my car, had a massive heart attack driving to work to Channel 9 in Docklands, and I called 000 and said I'm having a heart attack, because you can't mistake that feeling for anything else. I knew exactly what it was, this incredible pain in my chest. And the 2 ambos came and the micers came, and I was very upset about it. They cut my beautiful Caliber t-shirt off, cost me $100 about a week ago, and they cut all my clothes off on the side of the road. She said, can you get up on the gurney? And she said she's never seen anyone do a Fosbury flop like that. Do you know what a Fosbury flop is? When you,
Yes.
like a high jump? She said, that's what you did. I said, I wanted to save my life. And they said I complained more than anyone else in the ambulance. The bed's too narrow, the bed's too hard. Why are the rails so cold? Why is it so bumpy? I said, shut up, we're trying to save your life. Stop talking.
Where's the Sri
So I
Lankan
couldn't
curry?
stop talking even when I had a heart attack. Yeah, that's right. So then we got the Alfred Hospital. It was just like ER, smashing through all the doors and all the lights around me. And then the next thing I knew, I woke up in ICU. And 2 days later, work rings. Can you do a yarn on your heart attack? I said, I've got 1,000 tubes hanging out of me. I'm dying. I could have another heart attack. That's what the nurses told me. They even took my phone off me because I was making a lot of phone calls.
Yeah.
So Tracy Grimshaw came down and did the story. And I'm still kicking, tick, tick,
Yeah.
tick.
Yeah,
Hey, just on that
exactly.
note,
I just don't know how to stop.
Marty, how was Tracy's bedside manner?
She had a very good bedside manner. She even made me cry. So, but it's a very emotional experience. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Do you know what? This is a word of warning to any, especially you blokes out there. I was having a heart attack for 3 days before my heart attack. I had the worst chest pain and indigestion, heartburn. I drank 2 bottles of Mylanta. I couldn't get rid of it. And one of the girls at work, one of the producers, said, the Epworth's just up the road. Get up there, for God's sake, it's a hospital. Get yourself checked out. But I didn't. You know why? Because I had a big yarn up for the next night, and I had the overnight promo. You guys know all about that. It's important stuff. It was 8 or 9 minute story. The pressure was on, and I had to finish it. And I said, but no, I've got to get the overnight promo. I've got to do the promo. I've got to do the story for tomorrow night. I've got to finish the script, put my voices down. The next morning, it almost killed me. Or 2 days later, almost killed me.
Marty, did you consider chucking in the towel and, giving journalism away after that?
They told me, the nurses in rehab told me that, apart from the fact that I was mostly dead, they said I died in the car and came back. And I can't get my head around that. But if I did, there was nothing there, I can tell you. But the nurses said to me that I was a fool for what I did, that I should have done something straight away. And then I did 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 5 stories about heart attacks after that. And do you know how many phone calls we got from women saying, I just want to ask, or tell Marty King, thanks very much, because he saved my husband's life. Because he had exactly the same symptoms and he wasn't going to do anything about it. I said, no, that story on A Current Affair, they ring an ambulance straight away, and they did. So people are walking around now who wouldn't be walking around because of our yarns.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty proud of that.
No, congrats on that, mate. That's, hats off to you for that. So then did that moment signal a pivot for you into a different type of storytelling where, the baddies, the away trips, the chasing after the people down the street is a thing of the past for you? You wanted to go in a different direction, or how did that play out?
Look, you asked me before if it changed me. It didn't change me. Look, I eased off for a few months, but then just got back in the groove.
Yeah.
I've always been really fit. I kept my fitness up. I did all the right things. I have eased away from all of those really hard yarns like bouncing crims and whatever, but we still do the hard stories, don't we? All of us, when they come up. I haven't changed much, and I don't think I ever will. I don't even know how to stop working. I've thought about it, but how do you do it?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's in TV is me. I am TV. It's in my DNA. It's in my blood. She's a great seductress, TV.
Yeah, and you do it so well, Marty, and you always pour your heart and soul into every story that you do. You even spent a week in jail for a story, is that right?
I did spend a week in jail. Look,
was this before or after the heart attack?
Soul into it. Now, this was after. I do put my heart and soul into my stories. I don't do the stories for me. I know there's a lot of ego in TV. We've all got egos, but I do the stories for the people we do the stories with, and I do the stories for the audience. And I always want them to feel something. Don't look at my stories, don't listen to them, feel them. And I try and make every story different, and I try and make it better than the story before. But with the jail story, Mike Munro rang me and he said, I've got a yarn for you. It's a beauty. And I said, well, if it's a beauty, how come you're not doing it? He said, I don't want to do it. But I reckon you'll be perfect for it. And I said, okay, what is it? And he said, well, you're going to go to jail for a week. I said, seriously? And I got actually quite excited about that. So I rang Ron Woodham, who's a commissioner for corrections in Sydney, and he said, come up and see me. So I went to see him and all his PR people up there in the New South Wales government. And they said, look, we're sick to death of people thinking, all these young crims, thinking that jail is easy. And it's not. Jail is horrific. We want you to go to jail, but what we're going to do is we're not going to do you any favours. You will be treated exactly the same as every other prisoner. I said, okay, fair deal. So I went up to Sydney, went to the Downing Street Centre, the court precinct.
Yep.
Into the courtroom. The prison officers took me down, this is all on camera, to the dungeons below, to the cells, locked me up, strip searched me. Let me tell you, being strip searched by 4 blokes, it's a very dehumanising, embarrassing, undignified experience.
And they did a proper strip search of you, not just a pretend TV one.
I got strip searched. I reckon they were giving me extras.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think so.
I got strip searched so many times, and And you absolutely hate it. You know, bend over, oh God, lift your penis, separate your penis from
Whoa.
your testicles.
Oh
How
my
many times I did that because they hide drugs there. I'm sorry, you probably won't use
You need a
that.
pay rise, Marty.
That's what happens. So they put me in a prison van, drove me to Silverwater jail, and I got out of the prison van, and when I got out, there's like a long alleyway or a corridor with bars on either side with hundreds of prisoners and all screaming out to me, calling me a pedophile, you pedo, we're going to
Wow.
get you, you pedo, and all this sort of stuff. That was my introduction to Silverwater jail.
Jeez.
I was with a cameraman, and they put us in the cell, and the first morning I woke up from that night, there was a condom under my door, and I said to the prison officer, what's that all about? And she said, well, someone likes you. Good luck to
Yeah.
you. And we spent 3 days there, 3 days and 3 nights there, and we just didn't stay in jail. We did lots of interviews with the prisoners. Why are you in jail? What would help you not be in jail, and all about the programs they were doing.
Yeah.
Then I went and spent 3 days and 3 nights in Long Bay jail, in the violent offenders unit, and I was the cook, the chef. I had to cook the dinner.
Oh, really?
And I was pretty good too.
What did you
Spaghetti
whip up?
bolognese the first night, spag bowl, spaghetti bolognese. And all the big boys there, they spent the whole day's powerlifting, so they would have a bucket just full of boiled rice. I used to make them boil rice, and they'd sit there at the table having dinner with me, and they're just doing this with their hands with the rice. That's all they had, because they were carb loading for their weights. And we interviewed all the violent offenders, and you know why they did what they did, and so a very interesting experience. But this strip searching, wow, I was so glad to get out of there. I just imagine what it would be like walking out of jail after 10 years. I
Yeah.
walked out after a week. It was heaven.
Yeah, I bet.
Freedom.
I bet.
So jail is not easy.
No.
It's horrible.
And what did you learn about prisoners during that time? I mean, it's very complex about how people end up in jail, isn't it? It's not just black and white. You're a good person, you're a bad person. Everyone has a very long story about how they ended up there.
It is. People have horrific childhoods, and your childhood, as you know, it shapes your adulthood. They would go there mostly for drugs, assaults. I interviewed murderers there. Some people you can't help, but some people they get a dud hand in life and they end up there. But of course, you know, they learn bad things from people in jail and just become worse people sometimes, especially young people.
Marty, did you share a cell with the crew?
The cameraman slept on the floor, the poor guy. I said, can't you give him a bed? I said, no. So he said, you snored like a, what did he say? You snored like a Mack truck or something like
Freight
that
train.
all night long, and I haven't had any, so I'm so sorry. Yeah, it's a freight train. That's exactly what he said, you snored like a freight train. Yeah. So I said, can you get him a separate cell? I felt sorry for him because we had to spend so long together. But he was very stoic. He's a good guy. And he just put up with it.
Wow.
Mate, so you get out of jail, you know, you collect your things, you get out of jail, and then you head into the Outback, was it, and you join someone with a wood-burning car on a trip. What's going on there?
These are the Marty King stories I love.
had-
the wacky ones.
Yeah, you talked to me before about how the show has evolved and changed. We had an overseas unit where we could go anywhere in the world and film whatever we wanted. And there were two journos who did it, Peter Wilkinson and me, with Steve Rice, the producer. And to get back to Australia, we always used to go into the Outback and do stories. So we'd go up to Queensland for 5 weeks and just do, 10 or 12 stories. We go across to WA and do a whole bunch of stories. But this particular time we're up in the Northern Territory, and this car came down the road on fire. And so we followed the car to say, hey, guy, your car's on fire, you better stop and do something. And it was this really old couple, we just banged into them, this really old couple, like in their 80s or whatever. Yeah. And they got out and they pulled into a service station. And so we flew over to the car, and the guy's got a 44-gallon drum in his boot with the boot lid open. And I said, what are you doing? He said, it's a wood-burning car. I said, I invented it. I said, how does it work? And he gave this great big long windy explanation, but basically the fumes from the fire or the gases from the wood burning powered the car.
So what you're saying is it runs on gas produced by the wood?
That's right.
Why didn't you say that in the first place?
And this guy was just driving along with all the smoke pouring out, and he's in a service station. So it's unbelievable. But they were fantastic people and really great talent and just dear Australians. I love the Australian characters, the Australian Outback. We've got so many characters here. But we would go to America and do the Iditarod, the dog sled race in America, you know, from Anchorage to Nome, Alaska. We followed the dog sled race, and we had 2 women, the first year women had ever gone into the Iditarod. And Alaska's hard man territory, that's tough guy territory. And it was a really good story because there were women for the first time in the Iditarod. So we went looking for tough guys in Alaska to talk about what they thought about a woman was doing this famous Iditarod dog sled race. We walked into a bar and all these guys were staring at us and wouldn't stop staring at us. There were 3 of us. And we thought, oh, we're in trouble here. These guys, they don't like us. And it turned out to be Alaska's only gay bar. And everyone loved us. And they were good guys. And we pulled the camera out. We got some vox pops with them, and they were really funny. And then we went to a woman called Dee Dee Johnroe. We went to her place. And we were talking to her, and she had all the huskies in the snow around her. And I said, what's the biggest problem you have when you're in the Iditarod race? Because it's very grueling. She said, in the male moose rutting season, the male moose stand on the track and they will kill 10 of the dogs with their antlers. So I said, what do you do? And she said, I do this. And she pulls this huge magnum out of a holster and goes bang, right next to my head and fires the gun into a tree. You're in Alaska. Yeah.
Wow.
Amazing. That's what happens in Alaska.
Yeah.
Tough people territory, not just tough guy territory.
Luckily it wasn't Phil the plumber.
We also went across, and then we swung across to England, to the UK, to do a story. And we did a story on Dame Barbara Cartland. She was the author who wrote all the romance novels, like Mills and Boon, those books. And she lived in a house in Hertfordshire that was owned by Beatrix Potter, who wrote all the Peter Rabbit books. And I always loved Peter Rabbit. So I loved just wandering around the backyard where Peter Rabbit was written. She used to write it in the garden. I went back inside, we're doing the interview with Dame Barbara Cartland, and something was happening to her face. And she started fussing, and her face started to sag and collapse.
Wow.
So we had to stop filming, and we said, what's wrong? And her personal assistant said, oh, I'll put sticky tape on her face to keep her face up, and the lights are melting the sticky tape. I thought, oh God. So this happened about 3 or 4 times, and she'd say, you silly girl, what are you doing, you silly girl? Come, fix me up, silly girl. It was actually very discomforting. And so
I've never tried that.
That was Dame Barbara Cartland.
My goodness, Marty. What I love about all of your stories with all of these wacky characters is you enable them to be themselves and to be themselves very quickly. Because, you know, we don't have a lot of time to muck around, but you enable people just to stop being nervous and just be themselves. Tell us how do you go about that? How do you do it? What are your secrets?
There's a trick to doing something like that. And it's not really a trick, it's just human nature. Just be like them. You know, if you're with someone, I'm a great prepper. I prep all my stories. You know, I'll virtually script the story before I shoot it, roughly, so I know where I'm going with it. When I first started in television, I was useless for 2 years. I couldn't put pictures and words together in my brain and run it through. And one of the senior reporters said to me at the time, what you have to do is basically run the story through your head with pictures before you film it. And then you'll get it. I didn't get it for 2 years. But then I finally got it. And what I do when I meet people is, if they swear, you swear. You know, you like what they like. You act how they act. You know what they're like. So just be like them and talk the way they talk, think the way they think. And just be yourself. People think you walk into someone's house and they think you're this huge star. You're nothing like that at all. You're just a normal person. Just be normal. I act normal. All my stories are normal. They're not about me. They're about them. I'm just a fly on the wall. I'm just background, and that's what I'm like. And you know what? I love people. I love people. I love being with people. I love talking to people, joking with them, mucking around with them, crying with them, whatever it is. You know the stories you guys do so well as well. We all do it. It's how you get good at your job.
Is this what you do at the Melbourne Cup each year as well, Marty? Because lately, this is what you've become known for.
How long before the next cup?
Do you just morph into a punter? Is that how you get all that gold?
Oh, look, the Melbourne Cup is an amazing experience, but gosh, it's hard work. It is really hard work. I reckon my voice goes about 1 o'clock. I can hardly talk. I'm trying to do a piece to camera and I'm saying, oh, give me some water. But it's you get 100,000 or 90,000 people in the one spot who are all on the sauce, having a really, really good time. It's a fun day. Everyone's just so relaxed and so happy, and there's no dramas. There used to be a few dramas at the Cup with just idiots drinking and whatever, but I haven't seen it for years and years. It's just it's a beautiful experience, and it's a great story. It's just Aussies having fun.
Yeah, Marty, you're just as much a
and I have fun with them
at that event than in the Melbourne Cup,
exactly.
the Melbourne Cup, right? Yeah, you're always there. You're
people
part of the
people
furniture.
have told me that.
Yeah, you're part of the furniture. Look, Marty, I wish we could have another hour.
It's kind of one of those.
Marty,
are we done?
Marty, I wish. Don't worry,
I've got
mate.
a lot more stories.
I know.
I think we're going to get you back, aren't we?
We need to do it.
Yeah.
We'll do a round 2.
We'll do a round 2. We'll do a round 2 or 3. Marty, mate, it's been a pleasure. And look, I urge people to just punch in Martin King's name into YouTube, go back through his back catalogue. There are some beautiful yarns, some ripping yarns in there to have a look at. And look, and if you want to visit a Current Affairs show on 9 Now, do that.
If you'd like to catch up on anything we've been talking about with Marty today, or anything else, or any other stories that Current Affairs covered over the decades, have a look at YouTube, have a look at 9 Now, follow us on our socials. And if you've got a question for us or for the great Marty King, send us in your questions at aca@9.com.au. He would love to answer anything and everything, wouldn't you, Marty?
Yeah, I would. Of course I would. I'm here for everybody.
Thanks very much, Marty.
Thanks, Marty. Can't wait to see what you've got,
Thank you.
ready for us soon.
Okay.
And thank you, Lizzie.
Thanks, Steve.